Hi guys, KJ here. So I thought, first of all, excuse the mess that is my room. Um, yeah, I really need to take a day off to clean. Um, for sure, it's bothering me now. Anyway, I thought I would do a few videos that were kind of back to basics because I remember when I first started pouring, some of the simplest questions, I think, because we've been pouring for so long, we kind of forget those basic simple questions and we skip over them. And I've just joined a beginners group on Facebook thinking, I could help. And I'm hearing some of them that I remember I had these exact same questions, but nobody was really answering them because we already knew the answer to them because we've done it for so long. And because we're doing it every day, we forget these little basic things. So, anyway, yeah, I'm going to do this video here on freaking bubbles. I mean, we all hate bubbles. And even, I've been doing this for over 4 years now, and I still fight with bubbles. And we all fight with bubbles. And I think it is just the resin's nemesis. It's always going to be a thing. But I have found some tricks and tips to kind of really limit them. I still get bubbles, but I have figured out how to fix bubbles. So, yeah, for the most part. I mean, there's still times where I get a bubble in a place that's like, yeah, I can't sell this. So, but for the most part, I tend to fix most of them. So, anyway, that's what this video is going to be on, and let's get to it and see if we can't make some magic. So, here we go. Okay, first out of the gate, before we do anything, nitrile gloves. These, let's see if I can do it. Let's see. Nitrile gloves. Okay? Make sure you're wearing nitrile gloves. This is like one of the most basic, fundamental, must-do things when working with epoxy resin. No joke, not kidding. When I first started, I was thinking, yeah, so what? I can clean my hands, and alcohol, vinegar, both takes it right off, no problem. Let me tell you what, it only took about 6 months before I developed an allergy to the resin. And I've got pretty strong tolerance to stuff. This stuff doesn't take much or much contact for you to develop a reaction to it. It is toxic. It should not be on your skin. Wear freaking gloves. It is number one, the most important part, an important thing to remember when using epoxy resin. I can't state it enough. It is so important. I have COPD, so I do wear a mask too, and you should wear a mask. And anytime you sand or drill or do anything like that, you've got to wear a freaking mask because that fine powder and the fumes, and this is like low fume, like I can't smell it. I can't smell this at all. But just because you can't smell it doesn't mean there's no fume. Okay? So even if you're just putting on, an N95 mask, or, you don't have to have a huge ventilation mask, although I do, because I've now got the freaking allergy to it. I've got the face shield, the whole 9 yards. Okay? I do not have it on at the moment because I cannot talk with it on. Um, but yeah, so it incredibly important. Don't skip this step. Don't, just don't. Okay, so on to, this is 1-to-1. Okay, this is 1-to-1 resin. It's part A and part B. And let me see if I can't get you focused better. Okay, so it comes two parts. You need to read your instructions. All of these come with an instruction booklet. Read the flipping thing, because some of these measure by volume and some of them will measure by weight. So most all the ones that I have, matter of fact, all the ones that I have measure by volume. And I actually prefer that because it's easier for me, you know. But let me get this out of the way. But yeah, it's incredibly important to read the directions. Don't just skip it and it's like, yeah, I watch YouTube, I know what to do. No, read the directions, because not all resins are created equal. Even if they're 1-to-1, some manufacturers will have a longer cure time, some will have a longer working time, some will, there's differences. Totally. Um, this is an off brand that I've been using for about 4 months. And normally I use Let's Resin, which is a fabulous product. I can't stress that. I love Let's Resin. I ran out one day and I had to have this pour done. And so I ordered this off of Amazon because they could deliver it next day. And when I started using it, I mean, I've fallen in love with it. Now, that said, I don't know, because I've only been using it for about 4 months. It's not time tested. Like, I don't know how long it's going to take before it yellows, and all resins will yellow over time. All. Even the best ones. But some, like I bought this one off brand one time, and it had never even been out of the box, and I got to it about 4 months after I bought it, and part B was already yellow. I'm thinking, what the hell, right? What the heck? So anyway, that's, yeah. Anyway, so know your resin. Go on YouTube and look at a lot of us that are, if you see like Let's Resin is extremely popular with all of us because it's a fantastic product. So, if everyone's kind of using the same thing, like Let's Resin, J Diction, Resin Rockers, those top three that I have used and am well aware of, that I know are fabulous. Okay, so if you're going to get into it to sell, make sure the product you're using has been tested time and true. Okay, all right. So there's that. Okay, bubbles, freaking bubbles. Okay, part A is thicker than part B. So when part A is your resin, part B is your hardener. So this part is thicker. If you keep it warm between 75 and 80 degrees, it will mix so much better and eliminate all them little micro bubbles that you get from stirring. And I don't care how slowly or which stick, or if you're using silicone, it doesn't matter. If your part A is cold, you're going to get micro bubbles when you stir. I, I'm not kidding. It's just the way it is. So I have a seeding mat. Like for planting seeds, getting them started in the spring, you get this little warming mat. It heats up to about 80 degrees and it just keeps it at a constant temperature. So I think I paid maybe $20 for it on Amazon. I don't know. I'll put a link to it in the comments. So I have the seating mat that I keep my resins sitting on so that it keeps it at a constant 80 degrees because it's winter here and northern Indiana is flipping cold. It is cold here. So I keep during the winter months, I keep them on a seating mat and keep them at 80 degrees. If you don't have a seating mat, You can give it a water bath. You can set the jug down in a pan full of warm, really warm water. You don't want it too hot. If you heat it up too much above, say, 85, 90 degrees, if you heat it up too much, you're going to flash cure. Okay, no joke, flash cure. You can heat them both up if you want, and it makes it so much easier to stir and mix and gets rid of micro bubbles. Okay, so that's my micro bubbles are terrible. So yeah, that's my phone pinging. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to pause here and I'm going to get set up because I don't have a mask on because I'm talking. I'm going to get set up and I'm going to mix these up. And I do have a new mask that's supposed to allow me to talk. So we'll see if that works. And I'm going to get a jug of this mix. Well, I'm going to get it poured and then I'm going to show you how I mix it. Okay, so all right, I'll be back. Okay, so I've got set up. I put my gloves back on. I didn't want to click my mouse with gloves that I just picked the resin up with. So let me get these back on. All right, so I'm using these. Lots of people hate these because they can not be quite so accurate. But I need to order new silicone jugs because they do wear out after time and they get, yeah, I need new ones. So I had these. We're going to use these. I did think of one thing to mention. It's a stupid thing that I did, rookie mistake back in, back in the beginning. I mixed up the lids with part A and part B, and I put part A lid on B and B lid on A, and they sealed themselves to the jug, and I couldn't get the little suckers off. So these jugs actually come pre-marked on the lid because I'm sure, someone else has had that problem. When I get my when I buy my Let's resin, I take a permanent marker and I write it on the lids. So super important. I was going to mix the resin up off camera and I thought, no, I'm going to go ahead and let's get you. Looks like it's out of focus and I don't know why. It is. Huh. Oh, goodness sakes. I thought that I would mix it up so that you guys could see, but for some reason my camera is not focusing. Let's see. I'm going to clean the lens so you're going to get dark. See if that helped any. No, it's still not focusing correctly. Huh. See if it needs more light. There it goes. Okay. I have found it best to pour part B in first. Okay. Part B is the hardener, and it's easier to, I don't know how to explain it. If you end up scraping bottom and you don't have it all mixed properly, then you're going to have little spots on your poured piece that isn't cured. It's easier to deal with if that happens if what you're scraping is the hardener and not the epoxy. Okay, I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway, it's easier for me, and others might think I'm nuts. Who knows? But for me, this is how I do it. So I pour part B. So I'm just going to, I haven't really even decided on what we're going to pour. I should have decided that before we started this, yeah? We'll just do a simple. Okay, so let's pour, we'll do a simple dish. My dog is sitting right here underneath me. Okay, so we're going to pour 1 ounce, and you probably can't see it. So, oh yeah, it's not going to show up. Okay, so I'm going to pour 1 ounce of each because it's a 1-to-1. And it's a 1-to-1 by volume, not by weight. Okay. That is a big deal. So definitely, read it. And I've also eyeballed it now that it's at level. It's a little bit above the 1. I went a little bit above, so we're going to go a little bit above the 2 here. I've got a border collie and I've got dog hair everywhere. So, all right. So I'm going to go just above the 2. Oh, stop. Okay, there we go. All right. Now, I'm just going to use a wooden stick. Others will say, no, you got to use silicone. Seriously. Maybe it matters to some. I don't have a problem. Can you guys see the swirls in here? If you ever end up just pouring, you pour one and you think, oh my gosh, did I pour one of the same? You can see there's 2 different things in here. You can see the swirls. So when you're stirring, you're going to keep stirring until you no longer see any. Can you still see swirls? You're going to keep stirring slow until you no longer see any swirls. And to do a figure 8 slowly, and don't lift your stick up off of the bottom, because that's how you're going to get air bubbles, because you're folding it at that point. Like you were folding whipped cream into something, same deal. You want to stir, not fold, because if you're folding it or whipping it, you're going to whip in some air bubbles. So you want to keep stirring, give it a little swish back and forth every now and again. Make sure you're scraping the sides. Make sure you're rubbing the bottom. And you're going to keep doing this. Now, the instructions on most of them will tell you to do it for 5 minutes. So I do it until it's crystal clear, until you're not seeing any more swirls. See how you can see the cloud in the middle? And you're going to keep going. Now I had this epoxy sitting on this desk for a little while, and it has cooled down. So if I end up with micro bubbles, it's because I let this little sucker get cool. But I think it's going to be okay. It doesn't feel cold. And you do get, even keeping it warm, you will end up, see, I've got a few bubbles in there. You'll get a few. And you just sort of set it off to the side for about 5 minutes, and you let it degas. And some will tell you to let it degas for 10 to 15 minutes in their instructions. So, another thing, if you have this cup too full, if you read in your instructions on your epoxy, it will tell you to not cast deeper than 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch, because if you do, it'll flash cure. This is about 3.5 inches tall. It holds 8 ounces. So if your whole jug is clear full and you're filling it up and you're going to leave it in that cup for any longer than like 10 minutes, if that cup starts to warm up, you're going to flash cure because it's too full and there's too much in there, and it's just going to start heating up, and pretty soon it's going to be at 150 degrees, and you're going to get fumes and you're going to get smoke, and yeah, you don't want it to flash cure. So see how it's getting clearer and clearer? And you want to keep stirring until it's better to stir it a little too long than not long enough. But see, I picked my stick up. Now see, I got a couple of big air bubbles down there because I picked that stick up and turned it and I flipped them in there. But see, it's still thin enough that they're rising up. So And it's just about done. Okay, now I'm going to set it aside and let it degas for a couple of minutes, and I'm going to go find us something to pour this in. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I just got an order in for one of my seashell dish runes, and I need to make a dish. I have the runes done, but not the dish. And this is the perfect little sucker to teach you about bubbles. Because I'm telling you, no matter what I do and how hard I try, this little sucker always gives me a bubble up on the edge. And I don't care how many times I always get a freaking. So we're going to combine videos and show you real quick how to apply mica, because mine get mica powdered. This dish does anyway. And this is just a makeup brush. There's some things that I prefer the sponge applicators for, but for the most part, I really like using the brushes better. I think it gives me better coverage and it doesn't take as long. And yeah. I can get more, especially with it's something of this size. So, and I'm trying to hurry because I don't want my resin to start setting up in that cup. I have about 20-minute work time with this particular brand. So, and then it starts to get warm and thicker, which is not a really big deal for this. This mold here is just over a half an inch. And so what happens, if I don't pour a base coat down, it will flash cure. And, you know, it's not too tragic, but what ends up happening is if they flash cure, they can become distorted and they kind of push your mold out a little bit, and you get lots of bubbles. Flash cure will cause micro bubbling all around the edge and just make a heck of a mess for you. Uh-oh. There we go. Piece of glitter. Yeah. So I have to pour a couple of ounces down in this, and then I go back and pour the rest of it in a couple of hours. So, all right, now I'm going to tap it down and make sure that you got the edges. I have found out that using mica does help eliminate some bubbling, but I mean, not enough to, I guess not enough to really matter, but you know, it does tend to help a little bit. So, all right, I'm going to tap out the extra, because if you don't tap out the extra, it'll all float to the top. And so there we go. That's how we coat it with mica. All right, see, crystal clear. All the gas, all the bubbles have pretty much risen. So I am going to add some white to it. And this is what I'm using. It's just white pigment. I got this on Amazon 4 years ago, so I don't know if I still have the link to it or not, but it seems, you know, they work really well. It's not alcohol ink. It is pigment. So I'm going to put a little bit of white in there. And then I'm going to put a little bit of the mica powder in there, because I want the bottom of the dish to match the top of the dish. And this really wouldn't matter because it's going in the middle. But anyway, I'm just going to add. I got these little coffee stirring spoons off Amazon too. They were really cheap, but they work wonderful with the mica. So Now we're going to stir slowly. If I'm going to be adding quite a bit of mica, and I generally see how you see the clumps, and the clumps will rise. I normally don't just dump it in my resin like that. I normally put it in a little cup and then I mix up the resin so that I'm not dealing with this. But this won't really matter because you won't even see it. But if you don't get them all mixed, all those little clumps, if you don't get the clump mixed in, they will rise to the top and you will see them in your final project. So it is easier to take a little jug like this, add your mica powder to it, and then just a tiny bit of resin, mix it up, and then add it. Which is exactly what I should have done because now I got all these little. But that's because I'm doing a video and I'm all nervous. And because I'm still so new to YouTube, I get nervous. Yeah, I'm not real good at this. So. All right. And I am going to have to move this over to my leveling table because my work desk is not level. And I have a leveling table across the room. But the camera is not set up to go over there. So, okay, see what I'm talking about by how they rise to the top? Now, this won't really matter, like I said, because I'm going to pour another level on it anyway. But, yeah, see them all coming up? Yeah, that's what you get. So, I always put the mica down in this little jug. Then I add a little bit of my resin to it, mix it around, and then dump it in the cup. So, okay? So we're going to let this, I'm going to go put this over on the leveling table with the resin curing mat. And it should cure up. I'm going to give it about an hour and then we'll mix more up and pour it back on top. Okay? And then I'll show you what to do with the bubbles at that point. So, okay? I'll be back. Okay, so I thought I would show you this little trick while I'm waiting on the rest of that lid to cure enough to pour the second coat on. So this is some blue tape and I'm just wrapping it around my hand. See all the little, yeah. So the next thing I mix up, I'm going to need 11 ounces of it, which is too much to really mix in those cups. So I need this one. You need a bigger pot because if I try and mix up too much in those cups, I'm going to get a flash cure. So the easiest way to get all this little stuff out, tape. So, and it's really easier to just let it dry and to do this than it is to try and get it all clean when it's wet. It's safer for me, it's safer for the environment, it's safer all the way around. So, but see, it just pulls, the tape just pulls it right off. So, most of this is on the outside. So, this is just a cheap little plastic. I picked this up at Walmart. And yeah, the resin doesn't stick to it. And it's got great markings. I can see the markings when I'm pouring. With the silicone jugs, you can't really see the markings. You kind of have to take a Sharpie marker and mark them so that you can see them when you're pouring the resin into the jug. This I can see great, and it cleans up great. No problems. So I just thought I'd pop on and show you. So I do have some left down at the bottom. With my luck, those purple sparkles will end up getting in my seashell. So I'll just ball some up and stick it down there and pull it right off. And it's all clean. So there you go, little trick. So, alrighty, I'm gonna get some gloves on and get this epoxy mixed up, and then I'll be back to show you how we pour the rest of it. I did go ahead while I was off camera and get my base of my dish powdered with my mica powder so that it matches the lid. So, all right, I'm going to get this mixed up and I'll be right back with you. Okay. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it, but because my jugs have been sitting up here on my desk instead of over on the heating pad that I keep them on, and my room is only at 75 degrees, can you see all the little tiny micro bubbles that are forming in my resin? It's because part A is cold. It's below 80 degrees. And so, and see, silicone stirrer, right? And I'm stirring slow and I'm doing all the things right, micro bubbles. And that's because part A is cold. And I wanted to pop on and show you that. And it really didn't matter to me much because this isn't a clear pour. So the little micro bubbles, as soon as I put the white pigment in and put my white mica powder in, the mica powder tends to pop the little bubbles anyway, and you won't see them because it's not a clear pour. So, you know, it's going to be colored and you'll never see the little micro bubbles, and they really won't have much of an effect at all on any of it because as it heats up, it will pop them. And what doesn't will be hidden and unseen anyway because the dish has been painted with mica first, so you won't see them. And it just, you know, it's not bothering me in any way whatsoever. But I just wanted to make sure I showed you the difference between, and I'm hoping that the camera, let me turn this off and there. Can you see all the little micro bubbles better now? It really, maybe if I put black underneath it, it'd show up better. I don't know. There you go. See them all? Yeah, that's what happens when your part A is cold. So, but like I said, it really won't matter because we're going to color it and it won't be seen. Now, if there was a ton of big air bubbles in it, that would matter. But this will degas a little bit, you know, and some of them will be gone. But unless you have one of those vacuum chambers for it, you're not getting micro bubbles out. You're just not. Not without a vacuum chamber. They're going to stay in there because the resin's viscosity is really too thick to let the micro bubbles rise to the surface and release. So anyway, and this is kind of a medium viscosity resin. There's quite a few quote unquote bubble free resins, which are lower viscosity resins. They're a little thicker than, say, your 2-to-1, which is your deep pour resins, you know, but all in all, yeah. Even with the bubble free, if your part A is cold, you're going to get micro bubbles. The end. That's all there is to it. So, but this should be mixed up plenty enough. But yeah, see them all? That's all micro bubble. And I've stirred slowly. I've done all the right things. It's just that part A was cold. It's at room temperature. And my room is at, let me see my thermometer. Yep, here, my room is at 69 degrees. So the resin has cooled off to 69 degrees. Oh, by the way, this is an excellent thing to keep in your workroom because, see, it's given me the percentage of my humidity, and humidity over 50% is going to really affect your cure. Like, it could keep your projects soft and not cure to a hard state. So you want to make sure that the humidity in your workspace is below 50%. So if you're hitting 51%, 52%, I really don't think you're going to have much trouble. But if if the percentage of humidity is like 60%, you're going to start having issues. So anyway, this is a great investment, and I don't think I paid, but I think I got 2 of them for $10 on Amazon. So Thermo Pro, yeah. I got this so long ago that I don't even know if I still have a link for it, but I can check. So anyway, let's get back to it. Okay, I'm going to show you what I meant before about mixing the mica powder. Oh, I didn't even show you what brand. So this is the brand of mica that I've been using. And yeah, I really like this. I think it's a really great quality mica. Of course, I love Let's Resin mica too, and I've gotten a few others. I've got some mica off of Amazon that was not too bad. It's just an off-brand, no name, But yeah, I really do like this. This kind of has a bit of a sparkle to it, and I really do like this brand. So Eye Candy is another really good one. I like that brand too. By the way, nobody is sponsoring me. This is just all things straight up from me to you that I actually like. So, yeah, nobody's sponsoring anything for me. So there's no skin in the game, right? But, okay. First I'm going to spoon. I've got a little bitty paper cup here because I'm going to mix up more than my little silicone pot. I'm just going to give it 2 good dollops. That should be plenty. I'm going to pour a little bit of the resin in my cup here. Just a little, not too much. Just enough to kind of wet it. And just get it all incorporated so that all the mica powder is wet and moist with the resin. And you've got a pretty good thick paste, see? And then when you go to mix it into your resin, it's just so much easier to deal with. You don't have all the little bumps and clumps and crap that floats to the top. So, all right, let me move that out of the way. All right. It's much quicker to mix up that way, too. All right. So, just about out of this white. White and black I use a lot of. All right, let's get this scraped in there. Sorry if my big old hands are in the way. I realized earlier, too, that I had left the TV running out in the living room. So I'm thinking that part of this video's got TV background noise going on. So I may end up having to do voiceover on some of it. I don't know. I've got to go back and listen. If I do, I'll probably speed up the procedure some so that the video is not quite as long. Which, by the way, I have yet to learn how to do. So, yeah, I got some learning going on tonight. There we go. I love doing this. Isn't that pretty? Yeah. Make sure you scrape the sides down good. is so pearly. I just love it. So if you're painting your stuff with mica, you really don't have to add the mica powder to this as well. But I don't know. I always do because I like to see the base of whatever I've poured look pretty much the same as the front, especially on items that I'm selling. And this is, yeah, this is for an order. So, but see, the micro bubbles just doesn't matter as much. Now, see, we don't have all the little clumps and bumps from the mica powder this time. That's because we pre-mixed it. And it just works so much easier to do it that way and takes no extra time whatsoever. It actually takes less time because you're not trying to fight them and smash them against the side. So pre-mixing the mica like that always works the best. So, all right, let me move these out of the way and grab our other dish. Okay. Now here's the lid that we poured before. You know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to pause this and get my leveling table and set it up on my desk so I don't have to move it around and, you know, because it's a pain in the butt to try and carry over. So, and I've got the video and everything set up here at my desk. So I think I'm going to do that. I'll be right back. Okay, leveling table set up. I've also got the heating mat here, and I'm using the J. Diction leveling table. If you don't have one of these and you plan on doing a lot of pours, you need a leveling table. So this is just, this is the first one I bought. I don't know if this one's any better than any of the others, but it works good enough for me, and it's the one I bought. So I do wish it was a little bit bigger, but it is small enough that I can just pop it up here whenever I want it. So yeah, let me see if turning this extra light on helps. So there we go. See if we can get both in. So, all right. So can you see all the little bubbles? All of that is from mica powder. It's not really bubbles. It's just mica powder that has risen to the top because there's no bubbles at all in this. So all of that is just the mica that floated, and that's why we want to pre-mix. So you're going to get some mica that floats to the top here too, because if you don't get it all tapped out, then, it'll be fine though. So no worries. So, okay. I don't want to just set this down on my mat because I don't want to get something else stuck in it. So there's a couple of little paper towels that I trimmed. So there we go. We're just gonna, would it be easier for you guys if I poured right-handed? Yeah, that might work better. All right. So I'm just gonna pour a little. I'm not gonna fill it all the way up quite yet, because I want to see how it's. This is one of them molds. This was a Temu mold. And I got to tell you, I know everybody can get their molds cheaper from Temu. Some of their molds are just junk. Okay? They just are. So, yeah. I stopped getting the Temu molds so that I would much rather have a quality mold from, like, Let's Resin. I really, really like their molds. And on their molds, they actually list the ounces required to fill them. So you don't have to measure and do that yourself. But this one here, it's like the little feet are, I don't think they're quite even. And it always kind of screws up my lid. Okay, So to keep out little air bubbles on these, I'm going to pour it down the side a bit. Okay, I'm not going to finish pouring it in. I just want the sides. And I'm going to go all around the edge, and I'm going to give it a squish. And I'm going to keep doing that all the way around. And I'm going to do it a couple of times. There we go. Now I'm going to make sure you don't get it on that. Hold on. You make sure you burp the baby real well, because if you don't get out all the bubbles, they're going to be sad and cry. All right. Now we're going to pour it like right in the middle and really close. You want it really close to the base. Let it go down and kind of check on it a bit. Check and make sure that it's going level. I do have it on a level table, but the molds themselves have to be level. And I'm telling you, Temu molds a lot of times are not level. We're going to give it a little squish again. Turn it around, and you can almost see in the side, like I can almost kind of see a bubble there. And then before you get it all the way full, so you can still work it, pick it up. Kind of make sure that you get them all squished out. If you got your mold all the way full, don't pick it up, because you're going to make a mess. Lord knows I make a mess as it is anyway. Okay. We're going to pour the rest. And pour the rest in here. Okay, before I pour any more in there, I'm going to get a stick, and I'm going to run it all the way around. Make sure there's no little bubbles in there. And no matter how many times I do this, by the way, I have never ever poured this stupid lid without getting a bubble in it. So if I get a bubble in it, I'll show you how to fix them. If I don't get a bubble in it, it'll be the very first time I've ever poured this lid without a bubble. I don't know what it is, but I just can't seem to get these poured. It's just, I've accepted it. It's the way it is. So, okay, so we can pour the rest in. That's enough. Now, resin does tend to shrink a bit. So let me get this turned around. There it goes. All right. So now what you do is over the next, you need to babysit it. I'm telling you, they're like babies. You got to burp them, and you have to babysit them. So I have 91% isopropyl alcohol in this little mist bottle that I picked up at Walmart. And when bubbles come to the top, I'm just going to give them a quick mist, and it'll pop them. You can also use a long neck lighter. I have one here somewhere. I don't know where. But please don't use a torch on them. The temperature is too high, and as careful as you're going to be, you're going to eventually hit your mold and it's going to melt the silicone mold into your resin. And oh, here's the long neck lighter. So yeah, so you can safely use one of these and go over and pop the bubbles, but it's seriously easier for me to spray the top with the alcohol. So okay, we're gonna let these sit, and I'm gonna turn the resin mat on to heat it up, and I'm hearing my kids and my dogs, and good place to stop. So back in a bit. Well, good morning. So let's see what we got. And I gotta tell you, I don't think I have ever unmolded this lid, as hard as I try, without an air bubble. And this time I actually wanted an air bubble so I could show you how to fix it. So this will probably be the only time I ever unmold this without an air bubble. Anyway, I also did want to mention, remember I had said earlier that these were molds from Temu, and I forgot. And now we've got this little concave here because most molds have something like this to support the weight of the resin because it's so thin, and this does not. And normally I take a tea light or something and set underneath it to support the middle, and I forgot. So now it's kind of bubbled in the middle. So I'll show you what I mean. Yeah, I'm really not impressed with Temu, but let's see what we got. Yep, pretty much perfect except for the bow. See how it kind of, I don't know if you can really, I don't think you can tell. But yeah, it bows a little in the middle, which wouldn't be a big deal, except that this is for my seashell set, and I need, let me grab my bag. I need for my seashells to all fit inside it. And with this bow, I don't know. I think we'll be okay. There's my seashells. I did a video on these. I think that it's still up, but I painted all of those with Arteza iridescent paints. And then I did water slide on for the symbols. See if you can see. And it's got a little bit of a sparkle. I add a little bit of glitter. So, yeah. All right, here we go. Here's the lid. By golly, I'm telling you, this is the first time I've ever not had. Oh, there's one little tiny air bubble. Right, you can barely see it. It's right there. So, and there's a little tiny one here too. So the one that's right there is really no big deal, and I'm just going to fill it in with UV resin. The ones that are on the edge, they're pretty sharp. They're like sharp to the touch, and I won't sell it if it's going to scratch somebody. So, and then the ridges are up. So all these ridges will need to be sanded smooth because they can be pretty sharp too. And I don't want anybody to feel all that. So I normally take where's it at? I normally take like just an emery board, and I go around the edges and I smooth them all down. And then I have one of these nifty little tools. I've got tape on it because the edge is sharp and it scratches me, and I don't like the feel. So with these, you can either just go over it and get, because it is so minor, I'm probably not even going to bother filling it, but you can fill it up with UV resin. I'm just going to take the sharp off. But there we go. So But yeah, you can fix all the little bubbles with UV resin. I didn't get any drastic ones this time, so I'm not even going to worry about it. So it's such a minor defect that no one's going to notice. But yeah. See, I might end up pouring this bottom tray again and just selling the dish. Like that. See, it doesn't fit because it bubbled up. And it takes so much resin. The whole thing takes 12 ounces. So, yeah. Maybe if I get the bigger ones to the outside. But, yep, I'm going to end up repouring. Because they're not going to fit. Well, that just blows. But there you go. So, this is for an order that I need to get out. So, I've got to go repour a base. Bummer. But it'll be all right. I can sell just the dish and it'll be fine. But there we go. So, all right, I'm off, and give me a thumbs up for me, please, and hit subscribe. It'll really help me out because I'm just starting. I will try and add links to everything I've shown you. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. If I'm being boring, please be kind. But tell me if there's something I could do, to improve. I'm seriously just learning. So I'm not just learning this, but YouTube is a whole new animal for me. So, okay. Alrighty. Hit that thumbs up. Hit subscribe if you want to see more. I'm going to do the next one, I think, on different ways to paint the molds. So I'm going to try and get to that later tonight. I do have a couple orders that I need to fill besides repouring this one. And yeah, hit that thumbs up for me, guys. Okay? Love yous. Next time. Bye-bye.